So I'm back. Sorry for the little mini hiatus. Work has been a little bit hectic, so I haven't been able to record videos, but here I am for our weekly mock draft, alright? So now we're at version 5. Where we stand, we're a month away from free agency, less than a month at this point. So we kind of start to get a feel for where the Cowboys are looking at in terms of prospects. We get a sense of where we feel the team's kind of thinking, what they want to do for the players. So we're going to get into all of that. Before we do that, if you could do me a solid favor and like the video, doesn't take too long to do and helps the channel out greatly in YouTube's algorithm, that'd be awesome. Subscribe if you're new. I've seen the new numbers about a good chunk of you are not subscribed if you're watching this. So I would recommend if you subscribe. If we hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, I eat 2 of the world's hottest chips live on air. And you already know how that goes. I got to suffer through that. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on new content like this every week. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and we are going to look at the needs once again as we progress to free agency and stuff like that. So let's get into the needs. So in my last video for the mock drafts, I moved edge rusher into must address, but the needs haven't changed in the order that I feel is necessary. Offensive line is the #1 thing, and will probably remain that for the remainder of the offseason until the draft. Linebacker is still my #2 concern, but I think that as we inch closer to free agency, wide receiver could end up leaping that, depending on how the Cowboys tackle free agency. Safety, kicker, and edge are as follows. Now, again, a lot of these will move as we get through free agency, but to kind of go over the needs specifically, the offensive line, like I said, biggest thing that you're going to need to address. Everybody is replaceable minus Zach Martin. You need to reshuffle this offensive line, but it's not just the players. The coaching staff needs a shuffle too. Joe Philbin has not done a good job, aside from whatever happened. I think 2020 masked what he put to the table, and I think that the development of Terrence Steele has helped him as well. But fundamentally, the Cowboys' offensive line needs someone that can come in and really get them back into gear. I felt Mark Colombo did a fantastic job to really get this offensive line back into gear, and you're probably going to need to bring him back or just bring someone else in here. There are plenty of guys out there that you can get in to help build up this offensive line because it's not been playing up to par. Guys have been making mistakes, and that comes not only on the player, but coaching as well for the discipline's sake. So I think that everybody is replaceable minus Zach Martin. Every single position on that offensive line you can shuffle around. Talked about wide receiver. Linebacker, I already talked about that. You only got 2 guys coming back, and Micah Parsons and Jabril Cox. Everybody else is up for grabs. Francis Bernard's a restricted free agent, but point being is you're going to need to get another guy or 2 there. So that's kind of self-explanatory. Wide receiver, I think you might consider having to take one depending on who falls to you. There are plenty of guys that I really like in this draft, and I'm going to get into a couple as we inch further and further towards the draft. Then you got safety, kicker, and edge. I think that's self-explanatory. Now, your secondary needs are still tight end, running back, and defensive tackle. The reason running back is there is due to the fact that Tony Pollard is coming up for his contract extension. And for me, I'm not really a big fan of paying your running backs unless they are like an Adrian Peterson or some crazy generational talent. Now, for Zeke, I don't know where to feel on this. I feel like he has 1 more year to really kick himself back into gear. Yes, 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns is nothing to scoff at. However, the fact remains is that Zeke was extremely inefficient. And, it's not due to the fact that it's fully on him. It's the fact that the offensive line didn't do you any favors, #1. But #2, you need to have a dynamic running back beside him. Tony Pollard needs more touches. And I think when you look at it, the biggest thing is look, you need to find a way to make sure that you can make the Zeke contract work, plain and simple. So I don't want to go on and on and on, but those were the needs that the Dallas Cowboys have to address, and a bit more context as we now are a month into these things. So with that being said, we're going to do our 2-round mock draft, and with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Kenyon Green, guard, Texas A&M. So Kenyon Green is my favorite prospect for the Dallas Cowboys to draft this go-around. The main reasoning for that is he's a guy that you could move around on the offensive line, but I really like him being slotted in at left guard, okay? The Cowboys need to beef up their interior, and I feel that Kenyon Green would do just that. You know, the Cowboys need to get someone that can be a plug-and-play type of guy, and he is that. You know, like, you had a guy like Rashawn Slater there. And here's the key thing. Kenyon Green is very young. He'll be 21 by the start of next year, and I'm very big on that because you want longevity in your linemen. So having a young guy that you can have for 10-plus years, he's one of those guys. You know, and look, and I stress this all the time, especially with how these mock drafts are going. You're going to get a good offensive line prospect. It's a matter of who in the hell you want to take that makes sense. And, like, so you got, like, I've seen Trevor Penning there. We took him in the last mock draft. You know, we talked about Zion Johnson and Tyler Linderbaum. There are plenty of guys that will be there, and you have many options to go for, even if you want to go on the defensive side of the ball, too. But still, Kenyon Green, if he is there at 24, is the pick, and there is no discussion there. Unless it's like Tyler Linderbaum or something like that, then that's a different discussion. But I think getting Kenyon Green, you solidify that left guard position for the next 5 years, and then all you got to do is figure out what the hell you're doing at your tackles and center. And as I mentioned in previous videos, the key thing is that the Cowboys have flexibility. You have a possibility of going at the right tackle position with either a Terrence Steele or La'el Collins. You already know who you got at right guard. Center, you could improve. You have Tyler, who isn't terrible. He's just mid. And then left guard, you throw in Kenyon Green. And then you have Tyron Smith at left tackle. You have plenty of options if you're the Dallas Cowboys, but you need to find a way to revitalize this offensive line. So, Kenyon Green's the pick at 24. Let's move on to pick 56. John Mechie III, wide receiver, Alabama. So this is the first receiver I have taken in the past mock drafts. And some of you might be looking at this weirdly. Like, space, why are you taking a wide receiver so early? There are plenty of other guys. And look, in this mock draft, none of the tight ends were there to really justify a pick, number one. There weren't really any other prospects there to justify pick 56. I would have traded down if I could, but that's not what we're doing here. We're not trying to make this thing as complicated as hell. But he was there, and I would love to see him in a Cowboys uniform. Yes, I understand that he did tear his ACL in the national championship game. However, the point being is that he would be a great addition to this Cowboys offense, you know. And look, you also have to keep in mind that we don't know if Gallup's coming back. You don't know who you're bringing back in your receiving corps. You have 4 guys leaving. So that means you have Amari Cooper, who could leave, CeeDee Lamb, and TJ Vasher. If, you know, they let Amari Cooper go somewhere else, now receiver ends up becoming your number 2 need. And for me, John Mechie would be awesome to pair with CeeDee Lamb, or if you want to throw in Amari Cooper as well, depending on how the Cowboys approach this. Because when you look at what he has done at Alabama, his speed, his yards after the catch, you know, I feel like you adding that is huge for your offense. That's something that the Cowboys need to add, is someone that can take the top off of defense, but more importantly, yards after catch. CeeDee Lamb can do that. I understand that he has drop issues, and we've talked about that, but the point being is that he has shown how good he can be. And I think that if you can pair a guy like Mechie with Lamb, if that's your combination, that'd be awesome. Now, it completely depends on the severity of the ACL injury, but if it were me, like, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes before the Cowboys. But once again, John Mechie, if everything checks out, should be a pick that the Cowboys keep an eye on. And I understand that he's a hurt guy because he just got hurt. But from what I've seen, I haven't seen much more in his injury history. You know, I was trying to find if there was anything else to add to it. But, you know, Bama has had great wide receivers. That ACL injury is very serious because it could determine how, you know, things go. But otherwise, I think that he would be a great addition. I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to stress that we should not be afraid to take a receiver in day 2, which the Cowboys are looking to do based off of some insider reports, and we're going to talk about that in a separate video. But those are my 2 picks. Both offensive picks. You need to get another weapon for this offense in the receiving game, even though Kellen Moore probably won't use it, but you would need to address that offensive line at all costs. So those are my picks, and Kenyon Green and John Mechie III. You guys can go ahead and go with that as you may. Put down in the comments what you would do in this 2-round mock draft. Go on to the Draft Network or any other draft site and tell me who you would pick. And, yeah, once again, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.